You end the book and you start it too in the same place, and it's a ship graveyard, I guess, for lack of a better word.
Originally, I'd set out to do a project about the end of a ship's life, and looking at the shipbreaking that goes on in northwestern India. There have been several documentaries, several photo essays that have been done the last few years about shipbreaking, because it is a visually really, really dramatic thing to see. And when I was there, it was, I'm going to say it was macabre in more ways than one, because I did happen to be there at a time when there were several deaths, there were accidental deaths that happened. But it's also a little bit sad, because you're watching vessels which doesn't take a lot to look at and realize that they had lived, they must have been a proud life, they must have done something, traveled all around the world, and now they're just being rendered into just so much steel. The other thing, though, that came out of when I was in India, that was actually when I realized that there was a bigger project, a bigger book than just looking at the end of a ship's life. And that's when I actually realized that the idea of piecing together elements of the entire life of a vessel was something I wanted to do. And also that's when I really felt that it would be even more important to take a look at the experiences of those whose lives, individual lives, revolve around these man-made leviathans.
Because you were seeing mattresses thrown out, and I mean, the evidence of people lived and worked on these ships for years and years.
Yeah, in one case, I was aboard a vessel which had been beached about the day before. And when I say beached, I do mean that. The process of shipbreaking is exceedingly simple. You take a ship and you ram it at full speed ahead up onto this sloping gravel beach. That's it.
At high tide, as
high
high as
tide,
possible.
as high as possible, and then teams of men climb aboard and methodically cut it up using acetylene torches. But I was on a vessel that had just been beached the day before, and climbing aboard it was like being on the Maria
Celeste.
Yeah, there was a spookiness about it, such that you would go out, I walked into the kitchen, and the crew had been Filipino, woks with rotting food were still on the stoves. There were still open cans of Coca-Cola in the mess hall, photos left behind of the crew having a party, a little bit of lights, Christmas lights strung up. They must have had a last night party on the ship before they departed her. It really, I mean, I walked into the captain's cabin, and there was papers still on his desk. He'd obviously been considering buying some retirement property outside of Luzon City in the Philippines. And it just, all the moments were there. And that was one of those things that made me want to look at the humans who had inhabited and are affected by a ship. Not just, the book is not just a history of shipping and a litany of facts and figures about tonnage. And
no, it's about people more than anything.
Yeah, and that's something which is not often, the two don't often mesh together. Most people either write stories about, sailors and their lives rounding Cape Horn, or they write books about the history of the Queen Mary. I wanted to try and bring both those elements together somehow and see, again, if there was an impact between human beings and steel.
Was it more than you expected when you got into it?
Yeah. It was much more in a positive way. I hadn't expected to find so much depth in it. One of the things that I was really, really happy about was that I thought that there was going to be some compelling human stories, and they're bound to happen in any time you put people into dangerous situations and they're traveling around. But they really, the stories, the attraction that I developed for this book and for the characters in it was a direct reflection of these compelling human stories that I kept being told again and again, and many of which I recount in the book.
The book is Ocean Titans, Journeys in Search of the Soul of a Ship. I'm speaking with the author, Daniel Sekulich, and Ocean Titans, published by Penguin Canada.